The Red Death, one of the deadliest plagues in the history of man. Once the disease had its onset, a victim could expect to live a mere half hour, and that half hour would feature nothing more than excruciating pain, complete dementia, and the horror of watching one's own blood erupt from every pore and orifice of the body. This last symptom, the blood, was so infectious that anyone who came in contact with so much as a single drop would be the very next to succumb to this disease. There was no recovery. There was no cure. The only hope of escape was secluding oneself from the rest of the world, and even then, it was only a matter of time. For once the Red Death had shown its face, its bloody progress showed no mercy.
No, please! Open the gates! Open the gates! Let us in, Prince Prospero! Oh, let us in! Let us in! Open the gates! Open the gates!
Let me in! Let me in!
No! Please, open the gates! Open the gates! Let us in!
Please have mercy!
And the poor man was absolutely gasping for air. I mean, I thought he might faint dead away from breathing so hard. So I grabbed this goblet of wine off of one of the nearby tables, hoping that a good stiff draft might bring him back to health. But the poor man could barely raise his sword, let alone hold a cup. Sedimo, are you so amazed by the windowsill that you cannot lend me your ear for the best part of my story?
I'm sorry, my friend, I mean no insult. My mind is simply taken up with the precariousness of our state.
Whatever do you mean by that?
Are you so proud that you do not see the danger that we are in? When the Red Death came upon us here and the prince locked us all inside these castle walls, I thought surely he would not go through with this ridiculous plan. I thought he would surely see the folly in thinking that he could lock out the plague by locking the castle gates. But here we are, wasting away in our little sanctuary, patiently awaiting the day the Red Death comes.
The day the Red Death comes. Have you not noticed that while the outside world is suffering the throes of this plague, we here inside the castle have not seen or heard so much as a symptom in 6 long months? Do you presume we would have survived this long out among the huddled masses, fearing that each moment might be our last?
And do you presume, Vincenzo, that we are any safer here, locked behind these stone walls, away from the rest of the world? Do you think the plague cannot penetrate this fortress? It's been mere fortune that has kept us alive this long, and not the prince's foolish pride. We are wrong to think ourselves invincible simply because we have survived thus far.
You whine like a spoiled child. If you are so displeased with our situation, why not join the filth outside clinging to the gate? Perhaps the plague would see fit to put you out of your misery.
Plague is at our doorstep, Vincenzo. I feel we have fooled ourselves too long.
Come, Sedimo, let us go down to the main hall. The evening meal is close to ready. We can forget about the horrors outside.
Yes.
What a fabulous spread. I believe the cook has outdone himself tonight.
Your Majesty, I need you to look at these books with me, if you please.
Not now, Donatello. It's time for dinner. How are you, my dear?
Your Majesty, I had my man do a survey of the supplies, and I'd like to look at these figures with you.
I have no doubt you would like to go over those figures with me, Donatello.
Your Highness, if you and your guests would like to continue living within the safety of these walls, I suggest you give me your time. I think starving to death within our own sanctuary would make us no less dead than the plague might.
Kuroto, you are a guest in this house. I will assume you mean no dishonor to your host. I am sovereign still, regardless of how many of my subjects I've chosen to keep with me here, and regardless of how many may lay dying of their own stupidity outside of these walls. You will treat me as your ruler and prince, for that is precisely what I am. You accepted my offer to be rescued from the Red Death, and I have extended my kindness to you. I expect nothing save gratitude in return. They thought I was insane to lock myself and my courtiers inside this hold, but who was righteous in the end? While they bleed to death in their shacks and huts, we are alive and well and feasting here in the castle. I took enough supplies in to provide us for a full year, and I doubt we have exhausted our supplies yet. Don't harass me with matters that are not yet a worry. I grow tired of your pompous nagging.
We've been in here almost 6 months to the day, yet we've exhausted more than 2/3 of our supplies. I am only trying to preserve our best interests.
Almost 6 months to the day, you say. 6 months of life without the horrors of the Red Death. 6 months of defying fate and creating our own future. 6 months of happiness, luxury, and life. I would put you in charge of it, Kuroto, but I fear you are too committed already to counting each grain in the storehouse and weighing each moment in accordance with our rations. Come, let's go to the head table. My subjects are arriving.
If I were not the sane head of this castle, we would have starved to death already.
My friends, we gather together in this great hall once again to commence our evening feast. As usual, our cook has done an exceptional job, and we will fill our bellies with the finest flavors man can possibly create. So take, eat, dance, and rejoice. I have an important announcement to make once we've begun our meal. Ladies and gentlemen, as some of you may know, it's been nearly 6 months since first we gathered here in this hall as a household, and it has been almost 6 months that we've enjoyed our collected company. When I invited you, the chosen few, to join me here in this place, I hardly knew what the future might hold. But now, after 6 months here, I'm starting to see what we have created. We are blessed because we have created for ourselves a utopia, a sanctuary far greater than that of the gods, for here we may move and act without fear of sin or transgression. A sanctuary far greater than that of heaven, for here we may enjoy all the earthly pleasures set before us. We have become ourselves gods, and there is no sin save that which offends us. It has indeed been 6 months since we locked ourselves away from the rest of the world, but it has also been 6 months since we birthed our new paradise. Let us celebrate, therefore, in a proper and fitting fashion. I declare that in honor of this anniversary, we shall have a grand celebratory costume ball. And because we have no fear of blasphemy in this house, we shall make this ball a grotesque. To your health.
To your health.
A grotesque ball. The prince has really outdone himself this time.
Oh, yes. I think he has quite outdone himself.
I see your sour mood has continued, Setimo. Perhaps you should go to the ball as a thundercloud.
Perhaps I'll go as the prince. I think horns and a tail might suffice.
Well, well. I see the prodigal son has decided to participate in our little masquerade after all. What have you chosen for your costume?
An angel.
An angel. That's hardly grotesque.
What could be more grotesque than a man pretending to be holy?
Quite the rapier wit, Setimo. Although I'm sure the prince will be relieved to hear that you aren't using him as a costume inspiration.
And what are we going as, Vincenzo? Did last night's indigestion give you any fantastic ideas?
I've decided to use an old standby and go as a hunchback. I found that ladies, for some reason, are rather partial to a man with much in his sack.
I was thinking that after your costume has been constructed, we might go and investigate the rooms where the ball's being held.
The jewel suite. That's a fine idea. I hear the decor is well suited to the prince's excessive tastes.
I suppose this room is amethyst.
Wherever did they find enough dye to construct these rooms? The prince cares not for cost, I suppose.
The diamond room is a pure and proud white. The Onyx Room.
Feels like death.
Of course. It's the breaking of the seventh seal. The opening of the seventh level of hell, I suppose. Oh, Vincenzo.
Who is that? I don't recognize that as someone we know. To come dressed as the plague and spoil our merry time. I pray the prince does not encounter him. There will be words.
Sir, I think you should know there's a guest here who may offend you.
An offensive guest? How tragic. Does he reek of cattle?
No, my lord. He's dressed as the Red Death.
He's dressed how? What is the meaning of this? Your costume, your dressing. I demand to know what you mean by coming to our ball dressed like this. Sir, I will not tolerate this insolence. Speak or I shall call my guard. Seize him. I want that man. I want his name. There are multitudes of you and only one of he. Why have you let him pass? I shall do it myself. You insolent fool! Why didn't you stop him? Ah!
You killed the prince! You killed the prince! He killed the prince!